Hey, transformational prevention again. Oh my, hey. I know you love me, that's so comforting. Won't choose, you want me, take my hand and know me better. I know you love me, that's so comforting. Won't choose, you want me, take my hand and know me better. I know you love me, that's so comforting. But we are stuck except you take my hand and know me better. Hey, know me better, love me better. Hey, treat me better, love me better. It's the transformational
Hello
parenting
and
show
welcome
with
to a
Mute
crucial
Olori.
episode of the program Transformational Parenting with Mute Olori. Today we are diving into a topic that is not just about naira and kobo, dollar and cents, but it's about empowering our kids for a lifetime of financial success. So we're talking about financial literacy for kids, money management skills from an early age. Interesting, right? I'll take a short break. When I come back, you will be meeting my guest.
Hey, transformational prevention again. Oh my, hey. I know you love me, that's so comforting. Won't choose, you want me, take my hand and know me better. I know you love me, that's so comforting. Won't choose, you want me, take my hand and know me better. I know you love me, that's so comforting. But we are stuck except you take my hand and know me better. Hey, know me better, love me better. Hey, treat me better, love me better. It's the transformational parenting show with Mute Olori.
You're welcome. Welcome back. My guest is Collins Wosu. He is an accomplished professional with diverse background in geology, coaching, management, finance, housing, marine services, and you name it, of course, international trade. He's the Director of Strategy and Leadership at PRI Global Ventures Limited and a John Maxwell Leadership Certified Trainer, Speaker, and Coach. Thank you, Mr. Collins, for joining us today.
Thank you, Muti, for having me.
Good. So let's go straight to this topic, financial literacy. What age should parents start talking about finance with their children?
You know, there are a few ways of going about this. I don't think scientifically it's never too early. By the age of 5, children should start being exposed to all things finance, right, at the latest, because there's a lot of things that go on in their minds. They're still in their formative years. And psychologically, if you're training a child, by the time you miss age 8, age 7 to 8, in instilling a lot of the fundamentals that will grow with, you would have missed a lot of things. So you need to start early. So that means from the kinds of play they play, the kinds of conversations you have, the games you expose them to, and then outright directly speaking with them or what you allow them to do, all form part of the curriculum.
Why is it really essential that we have
it-
that conversation
I think,
at that young age? You said from
Yeah.
the age of 5,
yeah, from the age of
6,
5,
7,
7,
and
8,
8. If we miss it at 8,
then it becomes a struggle.
a struggle. So why is it essential?
The central bank currently says that in some of their studies that we have less than 40% of Nigerians as financially literate. That's a whooping 60% of Nigerians that we're not talking about who have access to accounts or understand what savings or loans are, but who understand how money works and how it works for them, how finances generally work. So if that is the issue for 60% of the Nigerians, what it means is that we do not have enough people training those who are coming behind. So it's not just a family issue, it's not just for individuals, it becomes a national problem if we don't catch it early. So it becomes important on all fronts. So you want an individual who is being raised right and knows how to manage themselves. It's not how much money you have, it's how you're able to manage the resources that come to you. So it's important for resource management to be an early part of it. So how is the home run? How does daddy source money? How does mommy source money? How do we manage things? So they understand expectations and do not put pressure on parents unnecessarily. You don't go out and see a family who's doing much better than your family because you do not understand the situation. Everybody's daddy at that age. So you see your mates coming to school with iPads and you're wondering why you have to use a Chinese phone. And you're complaining that this phone doesn't have a name. This is some kind of brand. And you get upset. It begins to affect you. So with that, you grow up with that kind of pressure in the society. Oh, this person is driving this kind of car. Why am I not driving it? Undue pressure begins to make you do certain things. But if you have the right information early on about how finances work and how you can manage your finances and how you can grow that finance, then early on in life, you begin to make certain choices. For instance, our viewers, you can do this. Calculate if you started saving 100 of any denomination, whether it's 100 naira, $100, 100 anything. You started saving 100 naira every month for your children from when they were born. By the time they're 20 years old, at that simple interest, you're saving 100 naira. So 365 days, you'd have saved 3,650 naira. And year 2, how much will it be? Year 3, how much will it be? At even 5% interest, you'll find that your child would have grown up with at least $1 million to their name because of that singular action. So you're now learning how finances compound. But if 60% of us don't know that already, then we're already struggling to just get what we can, put it in our mouths and eat. We're struggling to just make ends meet instead of building a financial future that affects the remaining
Now,
generation.
this is a lot of things. Let me talk about the 40% that are aware. The 60%, the other 60% do this. Let's assume they do this. But they are the only ones aware as parents that know they're investing that kind of money or savings for their children. How do you now begin to teach that child? I had an incident some years ago. We were talking about these issues of finance came into conversation, and my son said, I know you have a savings on me, but it doesn't make sense to him because he's not the one involved in the saving of that funds. So how do we now begin to get the children involved in this process that we're talking about? This knowledge we know, we're saving it on behalf of the children. When they get to a particular age, is a education trust fund, is this, is that. How do we get the children involved, in this process that they now begin to own and understand the essence of what we're doing as parents?
At a stage in their lives, games. You could use games. Monopoly is a very wonderful game to use in teaching children about finance, right? And there are many other games, cash flow quadrant for families. So at this stage in their lives, you use games, fun and games, to expose them to this information, because there's what we refer to as passive learning. So not everything is active learning. So some things are passive. Beyond that point, you begin to engage them in the activities. So nothing says, if I have saved in a month that your 100 naira, which is 3,000, let's go to the bank. You pay that money into the bank yourself. You fill in the teller or whatever it is. You're having to do that physical process yourself. When statements come, you print out the statements and let them see, this is your statement of account. This is what it means for you to have this balance. And someone could say, I want all of this money. I want to spend it. I need to buy a Christmas, this and whatever. You begin to give them also the information about choices. So the choices you make today, how they affect you. It's a slower process than just keeping the money and saying, hey, you have this. But it's a more effective process because now you're building them at the root. So imagine a child who says, I want to have a basketball, for instance, for Christmas. And they say, and they go check online and they see, I can afford it because I know what my bank balance is. You now tell them, okay, fine, you can afford that, but can you also afford X, Y, Z? So you put the figures in front of them. This is what your school is going to cost you at this point in time. This is where the money is going to come from. So if you take 10 naira from this 100 naira that you have, and in the next 2 or 3 months, you need to spend 120 naira. Can you now afford it? So that's financial literacy. So having money doesn't mean I can afford a thing yet. So it moves from passive to active. But again, I guess that's another thing that we parents need to do, because one of the major challenges, as I stated, is that a lot of us are not aware.
How
We
money
think
works.
we
Yeah.
think knowing about savings accounts, current accounts, knowing about a bank, that's financial literacy. No, it's understanding how money works, how finances work, how it is integrated into our daily lives, and being conscious of that and using it to build everything else around our resources. That's where literacy comes in. So I think the major challenge will not be for children right now. I think the major thing is for the adults to become financially literate. Because you cannot teach what you do not understand, right? So you have people who give children chores and say, hey, if you do a chore, I'll pay you. That's fine. But again, if you're doing that, you're training them to be good salary earners, right? And someone will say, I want to train my children to be entrepreneurs. Then what do you need to do if you want to train them to be entrepreneurs? Would it be to pay them for the chore, or to help them to create something for which that they get paid? So you take them to an arts and crafts class. But the first thing is that the parent must be aware. So if the parent or the adult does not know what financial literacy means, what it involves, then they can't pass on that information. Then it becomes difficult to break it down in a way that the children would understand it. So you have that same pattern, they grow up, and then they pass on the same thing that they've done. Oh, this is how we've always done it.
So even the thought of having, what do you call it? What do we call this? Piggy box banks,
Banks, yeah, piggy
and
banks.
what is how valuable is that in
It
teaching
is.
financial literacy?
It is valuable. It is valuable because it's once an activity is purpose driven and not just something you do out of habit, So purpose driven that becomes a habit is great, but just a habit without a reason behind it is dangerous. I'll explain. So you have a piggy box and you're saying, hey, look, we're keeping this for a rainy day. I like to say there's always, in Nigeria, we have rainy season and dry season. So it will always rain. But you're saving it for a purpose. You know what you're saving for. Oh, okay, you want that basketball. It's going to cost you 10 naira. Here's a box. So when friends visit, as we always do, is our culture, we visit, we're leaving, you say, oh, take this. So that money that you would have taken to mommy that we don't know where it goes to very often.
I'm still owing the $300 today.
Right.
Somebody is drawing me that money. I can't remember where
You
the
can't
money
remember where
is.
the money went. So when they get that money, you say, hey, that's your piggy bank. Put it inside. Now, what difference can you do? Instead of saving blindly, now you can add something to it. Open a book and record how much you put inside. You're creating a different level of awareness. Now, it's not just I have money. You know how much you have. Are you on target? Are you off target? How much more do you need? Then you can check, okay, oh, it's a few months to December. You still haven't reached 10 naira. You're X away from your target. What do you do? So those kinds of exchanges begin to challenge the child while keeping the parent actively involved in the process of training this child when it comes to finances.
Let's look at some of the challenges parents face while trying to teach these children about money management. Because what you've just said now, open a book, you said something, my mind goes to, I really didn't do accounting school, but I know that in economics we had things like bookkeeping and all that. So, but let's just briefly look at some of the challenges parents face or encounter while trying to teach their children or instill in these children money management.
I think it's discipline, two sides. When you say discipline, it's discipline for the parents. There's also discipline on the part of the ward. Let me start with the parents. You have a lot to do. You're thinking of taking care of these people. You're thinking of the people you need to serve. So if you're in the business community, your customers, you need to get them, keep them, grow them. You have bills to pay. You have to be abreast of the rules, all the things that are happening around you. And you still have to try and give your children some form of attention. So sometimes that's not a priority. You're like, they'll grow up, they'll learn it somehow. So it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of extra effort to say, oh, go and do this. Knowing that half the time a child will be a child, Not every child is going to be diligent with this thing, especially if you have those with short attention span who just want to get things done and move on with it. You have those who may want to get explanations as to why. They'll ask you why and why and why and why.
Why
So,
must I hold the
so
book?
understanding those different temperaments of your children could also get into the mix. So some may do really well at it, some may not. But you have to intentionally keep trying to instill it. So that's the first thing, discipline on the part of the parent. The other side is disciplining the child. So it's not just discipline on the part of the child, it's disciplining the child, which means you have to repeat that process over and over again. Find creative ways of repeating the process over and over again. And what we find is they may not do it now while you're there, but remember that anything you put into the child is like a seed. It grows at a point in time. So I'll give an example. My father, when we were growing up, would go to the store. Today you're the cashier, so you receive money. All you do is just receive and write how much you collected. At the end of the day, someone would tally all of those things up. They will count it. You count it. You put the 10 nairas in one place, the 5 nairas in one place, all the kobos in one place. You know, I think we had 20 nairas there, so you put the 20 nairas also in one place. So when they stack up, you count them and then know how much each one is. But someone was there to supervise, so we kept doing that. We didn't know what it was. But at some point in time, in the future, it begins to sink in. Some of those things begin to make sense. So not everything makes sense when it starts. I'm teaching right now. I'm not just teaching. I'm writing a book on the business model I learned from my father. His name, he was a Budike. Budike was his title as a traditional ruler. And I'm teaching the Budike model of business. We never sat down to discuss this. It was what I saw him do and what he actively engaged me in doing that I found in time I started doing without thinking. So we can pass across great habits. When we create them, we do them, we pass them across. So the same thing. So it's discipline on our part as adults and then discipline on the part of the wards. There's another part to this. The other part is getting the older ones to be the ones to teach the younger ones. That way you're measuring what they've learned.
So after you've taught the
you've
older
taught,
one,
you've taught the older one, you get them to teach a part of it, the responsibility of teaching portions of what they've learned to the younger ones. And you monitor that. That way you're finding out how much they have learned. Right? Say, do this. This is how mommy likes this done. Fine, go and get it. Show her how to do it. Show him how to do it. So now you've made them the teacher. Oh no, is that how is that how I taught you? You're not talking to the third party, you're talking to the person whom you have worked with. Is that what I taught you? Is that how I taught you? No, this is it. You're not correcting the other party, but it's in their presence. You're addressing one person, but you're passing the message across to both of them.
wow.
It's a lot.
One thing I have learned is the fact that you have to consciously take responsibility for teaching your children about finances. Instead of getting impatient to say, you're not doing it right, please get out of there. Give me the money. Let me count it. Be patient enough. That's a discipline to see that they do it because subconsciously they are learning. I'll take a short break. I'll be right back. When I come back, we'll talk about the difference between teaching financial literacy and material nonsense. Don't go away.
I know you love me, that's so comforting. Want you, you want me, take my hand and know me better. I know you love me, that's so comforting. But we are stuck except you take my hand and know me better. Hey, know me better, love me better. Hey, teach me better, love me better. It's the Transformational Parenteen show with
All right, welcome back. It's still the Transformational Parenting Show with Mute Olori, and today we're talking about financial literacy, how to instill that whole idea of money management in our children at a very young age. And if you've been following us, you realize that we said as early as 5, 6, 7, 8, we should have at least given the children some idea about money literacy and money management. Now, my question is, Mr. Collins Nwosu, how can parents strike a balance between teaching a child about the value of money and avoiding a materialistic mindset in that child?
Okay. I think one way of going about it is to expand this thing a bit. It's not money management, it's finance, right? And finance means that there's something that the money does. So if you tell me I need 10 naira, or mommy, I need 100 naira, the question is, what do you need it for?
Exactly.
So that thing that they need it for is what you actually are trying to teach them to manage, not the money. The money is the means to get there. So the first thing they learn is that is the tool. Instinctively, we do that.
Exactly.
Oh, I need 100 naira for. I need 20 naira. I need 1,000 naira for. So you're getting to the purpose. Now you begin to work on that purpose. Why do you need this thing? And why do you need it now? So learning to prioritize their needs and their wants becomes something that you help them do. So do I need a phone? Yes. Why? To communicate. Okay, you need to communicate. You need to send me text messages. I need to be in a position to reach you. But why do you need an iPhone?
I really wanted to go there. That you can use a touchlight phone. So why do you need an Android phone?
Exactly.
Or
So why do I need that
Fantastic.
level of phone? Oh, because of my friends. Now that's where values come in. So we have to instill values. So it's that you cannot teach a child something outside of the values that you have. Because you would see it as okay if your values are that it's okay. And I'm not talking about affordability, because there are a lot of things that we can afford that we don't necessarily allow our children to have, not because we can't afford them, right? So because I can afford to buy a car for the children does not mean when he's a toddler or she's a toddler, I should let them drive. So I take the car keys and give it to 10-year-old. Go ahead and drive. I bought you a car because I can afford it. That's not love. I mean, you really want to kill the child. I don't want to use hard words on air, but that definitely is not love. I think you, the parent, needs to be spanked, not the child. So when we do certain things in the name of love, oh, I don't want my child to suffer, or I had this kind of experience, I don't want him to have it, it becomes a problem, because some of the processes we went through made us who we are.
Exactly.
So they don't necessarily have to go through the same, I did not have a shoe. You can get them the right shoe. But it doesn't mean that you need to buy, $100,000 shoe for this child of yours because you didn't have it all. So I think it's in values. The entire thing will be summarized really in the values I carry and the values I want to instill in my children is what will determine what kind of lessons they learn around resources, around finance, around money, around anything around.
So when we ask the why, what question,
yes,
we now help them to understand that acquiring something is not just about being materialistic, but you must have a purpose, and that purpose will be tied to the value of the money.
Okay, so I did something a couple of months ago. I noticed that whenever I buy bread, before you blink, it's finished. Buy 5 loaves of bread, and these voracious children will just eat it. And someone said, no, they're growing. I said, okay, it's not a problem. They're growing. So I went to the bakery with them. We bought bread, and I said, here is your loaf of bread. It should last you 1 week. Here's your own loaf of bread. So all 5 of them, everyone had their own loaf of bread. So if you finish it in a day, that's fine. It's yours. Do whatever you want to do with it, right? But just know that I am not going to buy another loaf until once you've passed your 7 day. Day 7, you're getting a fresh loaf of bread. So I had 1 or 2 of them that actually finished it like the second day. It was gone. And Daddy, can I have bread? I'm like, of course. I gave you a loaf. It is finished. You have to wait. Day 1, they thought I was going to budge. Day 2, day 3. It happened the first week. It happened the second week. By the 3rd week, everyone had found a way of managing, their provisions.
Last, for
exactly.
the time. But are there cultural limitations to why Africans can't really? I'm using a generic word, but I just want to I'm using the word specifically because I want it to relate to us as a people. Are there cultural limitations? Are there reasons why we don't really teach financial literacy for children?
I think we've always had it in our hearts on how to teach financial literacy. So when you take a child to the farm and you produce, we teach them that you keep some away for the next planting season. You keep seedlings away, you keep the one on the barn that you will sell, you keep the one that you will use. That has always been something we have taught, right? So perhaps we lost it at a point, where we thought having more, you could have more, you could have it all through the seasons. So let's have everything all through the season. So that cultural mix of, oh, why should I store something for this for now? I can sell everything, have the money, and someone who specializes in keeping seedlings, I can go and buy from. Those little shifts started causing what we have today, right? Another part of it is when someone is hungry, it's difficult to tell the person to save. Because I have not eaten, you're telling me to save. What save what? Do what exactly? I need to eat. You're not telling me to save. Look, you're joking. You're joking. Look, I will do whatever I need to fill this belly. Save what? But the truth is, even in that hungered state, I have seen people who have grown from little to much. I have watched documentaries of people who they know they're hungry, but even at that, they say, "Look, I'm going somewhere. So this thing, if I eat it now, it's still not going to satisfy me. But if I take a portion of it and do something else, that will compound. But it takes a lot of discipline. It's literally what we refer to as self-denial. You're going to deny yourself of certain pleasures, even to the brink of suffering, and it's a tough place to be, because in this day and age, it's easy to say, you suffer yourself. Sapa don't kill you, So it's.
But when you're doing it with a purpose.
When you're doing it with the purpose.
With the end in mind.
You're not bothered. You are driving your very small car, third-hand car, managing yourself, because I have literally seen people who have 1 million, 2 million, couple of millions of naira in the bank, and they are still taking Okada to do what they're doing. And when I speak with them, it's quite interesting. Say, no, I need money to stop buying goods locally. I need to start buying from the source. And they will not sell to me until I have a certain amount. So that's what they're working towards. And you find that today they're just managing themselves. Some of them even sleeping in their stores because that's what they can afford to get where they are.
So my advice is, let's get intentional. We all know these things. Let's go back and learn the importance of teaching our children money literacy, the importance of saving with a purpose, not just saving because everybody's saying it and we need to do it. And carrying the children along, let them own the process. And before you know, they will be the ones telling you about, the mansions they want to build and how much they want to go to space with the money they are saving. I'll see you again next week. Thank you for staying with us, and don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms. My name is Muti Olori. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Take my hand and know me better. I know you love me. That's so comforting. Won't you want me? Take my hand and know me better. I know you love me. That's so comforting. But we are stuck except you take my hand and know me better. Hey, know me better, love me better. Hey, teach me better, love me better.
It's the Transformational Parenteen show with Mute Olori.